For those of you that don't know me, I'm a realtor with the Jennifer Jones team here. These are the systems that I have used to stay consistent in my business and not let things fall through the cracks. The one thing I will say, so as we dive into my presentation here, let me just move you guys. You guys can see my screen? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so the goal of my presentation here today is to talk about how to accomplish more in less time. Now, it all comes back to the same core logic for me that if I'm doing something more than once a week, I build a system. If this is something I do once every couple months, sure, you might be able to do it as a one off. But if I'm consistently doing this and spending my time, I want to make sure I'm making it as efficient as possible because time's valuable to me. The one thing with efficiency that I want to touch on is that there's a balance to be mindful of here. Sometimes the fastest thing, like if you can send out mass mailers and do everything in one click, sometimes that's not the best result. To me, efficiency comes back to getting the most out of your time invested. We want to make sure that if we're investing our time, we're seeing returns. And sometimes that's not about being the quickest, it's about being the most efficient with what you're doing. So, again, as I said, I've been a realtor since 2017. And when I got my license and really started seeing some progress in my business, there were a couple key points that I realized I was struggling with. And one thing I will say, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I have a lot to get through this morning. And if we have time at the end, we'll go through those questions. If we don't have time and you still have questions, reach out to me and we can go through them. But I will answer questions at the end. So, sticking points. These are some issues that I noticed as I was getting going in my business. As I started to get busier, I noticed that nurturing all my leads equally was becoming a challenge. I would focus on the hottest leads, and some people were falling through the cracks. And as we all know, sometimes those long-term nurtures really quickly turn into a active client. They sometimes jump that hot lead stage if the right property comes up. So we really want to make sure we're systematically hitting our leads. And the next would be finding talking points. I am one person that I'm all in with what I'm doing. And sometimes I don't want to sit and think about what I'm going to send to people. I want to speed that process up. So finding talking points to discuss with clients each week, that became a challenge. Once I started to hold a lot of listings, like once I started having 5, 10 listings at once, keeping all my sellers in the loop and doing quality weekly touches with them was becoming quite a task. So I developed an efficiency I'm going to share with you guys today in that regard. And then staying consistent on everything, staying consistent on my lead gen, staying consistent on my nurturing, and staying consistent on keeping my sellers up to date. Those are things that I wanted to make sure I was staying consistent with no matter how busy I got. So what I did is I started playing around with ChatGPT and I found some cool stuff that we'll touch on in a little bit. I learned how to effectively mass mailer people without it being a mass mailer. I built efficiencies to where I can send touches to a bunch of people, but they don't realize I'm doing it in that manner. It looks like it's a one-off email. And I'm going to share all this with you guys today. I found efficiencies to make doing all of this faster, as I mentioned, which I'm sharing today. And now I've stayed consistent with this for a few years and I'm reaping the results of my efforts. What I've noticed through doing this is I'm converting seller leads. I'm consistently converting leads into new buyers and sellers. As the market shifted and become more challenging, my listing retention rate's been very good. So I'm not having sellers that are just dropping off the map. I'm retaining my listings for the long run and they're turning into deals. More of my long-term leads, they're coming to me and asking questions and building that relationship earlier on. They're realizing I'm their professional they want to work with earlier on in the process. And finally, the one thing everyone in here wants more of, the clients I'm working with now, they're much more loyal and they refer me business consistently because the effort I put forward with them. They see that I'm putting the effort in and they reciprocate by sending me their friends, family, and all their loved ones. So it's really turned into something cool. So my one little disclaimer here is that at first, this is going to be overwhelming for you guys. These systems are things that I've been doing for a couple years now. So they're quick for me. But for you, when you're implementing these into your business, it is going to be an investment of your time. It's going to take a little bit longer than doing the same system you're doing over and over again. And you'll see I have little clocks up here in the top right talking about how long some of these things take me. It's likely going to take you a little bit longer in the first couple weeks, but once you get going with this, it's going to save you time over your current routine, or if it takes a little more time, you're going to see more results in your time invested. One thing here as well, for me, I found a really big aha for me in the last year with waking up earlier, honestly. I'll be honest here. I was one of those people, I used to wake up at 7:30 and get my day going, and that worked fine. Again, I'm speaking from the perspective of someone who doesn't have kids, and I'm a little more free with my time than some of you guys on here. But for me, I found with 7 a.m. I was rushing. I felt like there was this tidal wave I was trying to keep up with of work throughout the day. So one thing I made an active choice in doing is waking up earlier. I started to wake up at 5:30. I started to go to the gym in the morning instead of in the afternoon. I got caught up on my emails before I started the day, and personally, I feel like I gained an hour and a half in my day. Instead of investing an hour and a half later in the day into watching Netflix and just sitting around, I invest my time in the morning and I'm seeing those results. The first real tip we're going to dive into here is my email organization. Some of you on the team, you might have seen this already. This has been a really big thing for me. And even if, God forbid, let's say there's an issue that comes up and you need to have all your stuff organized in case there's a legal matter or an issue with the closing, this has been really important for me because I keep everything so organized in my Gmail folders that I can go back to 2021 right now and find the email I sent to the listing agent when the offer was submitted, all of our communications, everything. So there are three key folders I'd recommend setting up in Gmail. And I know some of you are thinking, Jake, how do I set up a folder? We're going to get to that in a second. So three key things I recommend setting up would be a deals folder. And then under that, you put labels. So you'd say deals, and then you'd have your year, and then you'd have the select deals you're working on within that year. The second key folder is taxes. All your receipts, all your invoices, they go there, and then you can find them come tax time. The third is your trade records. I lose them all the time. Well, I used to lose them until I built my folders, and now I just tuck them in my folders and I can get to them at any time. My inbox around 50. My active inbox, if I pull it up right now, I've probably got 65 or so emails in my inbox, but I don't delete emails. I simply organize them into the folders. I only delete the junk ones I don't want. Anything that's of value, it goes into its folder and I can find it very easily. So I have a little video here showing you guys how to do this. Pretty simple. In this presentation, we will be able to share with anybody. So if you want to follow along or watch this back, we'll be able to share this with you. This is showing off my inbox on the left-hand side here. All those folders I have set up, you can see going back to 2021, there's my buyers and sellers. Those are all my deals for 2023 in this instance. This is one of my friend's deals, so I'm fine to share this information, but you can see I've got 33 emails from this transaction. I've got another folder for good email examples if I want ideas on what I should be blasting out. Everything that I get into my inbox, it has a folder and I organize it as they come in. I don't delete them. I organize them so I can easily access them at any time. So it's keeping your records accessible. You'll never lose an email again. And the most important part for me, I organize them after I've responded. So no emails fall through the cracks. There's no accidental red email sitting in my inbox. So that was just showing off my current folders. And now I'm going to quickly show you in this video how you create them. So again, I'm a Gmail user. Every email system has their own version of a label or a folder. So I made one called example. You can see how it popped up on the left-hand side there. I'm now going to make a sub-label, like for the example of doing deals. That would be my deals folder. Now I'm going to put it underneath example, and there. Now I already quickly set up
Competitions or
example
something,
email.
or go and they have the game they play or something. I guess
There we go. Sorry about that. So that quickly showed you how to build out that folder. And then I right-clicked on an email here to show you how to add it to the example folder. You can see how the label is now popped up. And now if I ever want to go back and find this email, I can simply go into my folder I created, and there it is. After 2 seconds, I know exactly where it is. Super simple, super easy thing to set up. Might take you, like if I were to set this all up today, probably take me 30 minutes. For you, if this is your first time setting this up, it might take you 2 hours to set up, but your time invested here is going to pay off tenfold. Now, the next thing, time blocking. This is a fun one. I remember when I got started in real estate, I would kind of giggle when people would say time blocking because it's just not something that works in my life. My life is far from perfect. My schedule is far from perfect. This is what I do, and this is what works for me. Might not work for you, but this really works for me. So, what I do, I built out what I call my perfect week, an exercise a lot of us did when we were getting into real estate, where we build out what we want to do, our key tasks that we need to accomplish. I built it out in my Gmail calendar here. I live off this calendar. If I, here, I've got a date night with my spouse, that's in the calendar. If I'm spending time with my mom for Mother's Day, that's in my calendar. Everything that I'm doing is in my calendar. And things like these green ones, those are tasks I need to accomplish. But for me, I move them around. So let's say I have an appointment and I book it at 11 a.m. This calendar block, I can just click and drag it down and fit it into my calendar somewhere else. But for me, I'm accountable to myself and I know I am not deleting these unless I accomplish them. So it's my way of time blocking and making sure I get done what I want to get done. And not only in the business world, it's also in the personal world, like laundry, Mother's Day, dinner with the spouse, time with kids, whatever you want, you put it in your calendar because if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist in my world. That's how you accomplish what you want to in a week, and you don't have to think about it. So things like lead gen, things like sending my weekly listings to buyers, my seller reports, follow-up calls, all of that stuff is in my calendar. And this is what it looks like before my week gets messy. Once we get into my week, I start to add in my appointments, my drive times to my appointments, all of those things, and then this fills up. But the cool thing with Gmail as well, I can access this from my phone at any time. So if there's anything that I should be getting done and I forgot about it, I don't need to look at a calendar on my wall. It's always with me. So next thing I'm going to dive into is making templates in your CRM. Templates are great. I love them. However, don't like to rely on mass mailers as my primary touch points with my leads. I feel that the effort you invest shows on their end. If I'm sending a generic mass email to everybody, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I get an email, if I scroll down to the bottom and I see unsubscribe, like the mass mailer indication that it is a mass mailer, I'm automatically turned off. That shows me that this is just a mass mailer. You don't care. So I worked backwards from that logic and I do things a little different. Things that I use my templates for are interest rate touches, market updates, like the general things that we want to update everybody on. Event invites if we're hosting an event or if there's something going on in the community, mass emails with general information, and then generic touches. Those are the only things I use templates for. What I do differently though, I do a different kind of template. This is what works for me. Again, might not work for you. I only spend 1 hour per week doing this. And I can tell you, I've already this year done, I just wrote one last night. So that'll be my third deal this year already in 2025, specifically from leads I nurture in this manner. I converted a very high level nurturing this way. And I think anybody that takes on this system would as well. So what I do, I've got all the steps written down on these slides as well. So when you watch this back, you can read into it. But what I do, I work on two monitors. I have a Google document, Google Docs, that I call a working document. So really the only things to my template, there's nothing to the template, honestly. I just update it every week. So I'll come in and switch this around. Um, Things to pay attention to and the link to the homes that match your criteria, those stay. But like the good morning XX, I will change that with something else every week so it looks like a completely different email. Things to pay attention to. This is my exact example I sent out to my clients this past week. We're going to get into it in a second here, showing you how I do it. But this is my exact example. So I wrote out talking about things that I'm watching for over the next couple weeks and months. I'm watching the federal election to see where things go. I'm watching the Bank of Canada announcement on April 16th with the monetary policy report. I'm telling my clients the big things I'm watching for, showing them that I'm an expert in the industry. And then when those things happen, I'm going to share with them my thoughts. I'm going to share with them the information to keep them up to date. My clients have become reliant on this information and they look forward to my emails each week because I keep them in the loop. So again, all I do, I have a Google document that I built out this rough template. Really, the only part that's a template is just some kind of intro. I have the here is the link to homes and things I'm paying attention to. Those are really the only parts of the template. Every week, I switch this up a little bit and send it out to my clients. And what I do, I take a link to properties from Realm and I paste it in here, sending them what they're looking for. This is kind of my white glove service to some of my clients, the hot leads I'm working with, the people who are really actively looking for something unique. I have searches set up and I send them the properties directly instead of just having them on an auto drip. So again, my disclaimer at the top here, this might not be the most efficient way to do it, but again, I feel efficiency comes back to the return on investment in your time. And my time I'm investing here is paying off tenfold. So you can see, I'll pause here for a second. I just have all my leads that I'm sending my weekly update to. This is on Mondays I do this. I have them all opened up in a Google tab, in a Google page, sorry. And then I just switch between the tabs and copy and paste that exact message you just saw on the last screen. And I'm simply, I zoom in a little. I can't zoom in, but right here, that's just that XX that I had in the template. I'm just double clicking and replacing it with their name. All I'm doing. Straightforward and simple. You can see how fast I'm flipping through each one of these leads. And yes, you could be mass mailering this, but the properties you're sending would not be customized to each person, as well as it would show up as a mass mailer with an unsubscribe button, which I don't want to do. So all I then do is I go into my Google Calendar, so my Gmail. You can see in my Gmail here, I had already emailed myself the properties I wanted to send to my clients. I would simply copy the link, go back to N in this instance's profile, paste the link, go to the next lead. This is for some waterfront lease clientele I'm working with. Simply paste it, send it off. There's their weekly touch. Takes maybe an hour of your time each week, but going above and beyond with this, I convert at a high level now. So I really enjoy it. This is a kind of a case study for this. Again, I spend maybe 1 hour per week on this. This was a lead I've been nurturing for the last couple years. You can see he was 1,400 days old on sync at time of transaction. I would send him those weekly updates I just showed you guys how to do every week. I'd send him an update of what's available in Friday Harbor. Took me maybe 30 seconds. I would quickly write up an email for him and say, here's the information I've noticed on Friday Harbor. Here's one coming to the market that's not on the market yet. And ultimately, earlier this year, he finally transacted for over $1 million. It works. Now, diving into seller reports. Again, I go above and beyond what most people do with this, but I feel my investment is paying off because the luxury clientele I represent, they're loyal to me. They're sticking with me. Even though the market's slow right now, I'm retaining these listings. I'm not getting fired and hired because no one's going to go to this extent. So, similar to my personalized updates I shared earlier on, I have a working document in Google Docs that I update each week. I copy and paste let's call it a template to each of my sellers, and then I customize it with their information. For me, I set the expectation that I'm providing an in-depth update each week. I time block it, like I showed you earlier on my calendar, to make it a set day of the week. So every Wednesday afternoon, my clients know they can expect to receive an email from me. I go in depth and personal. I take the extra 10 minutes to write up a solid email to each one of my sellers and show my expertise. And one thing as well, I add in my opinions. I'm not afraid to tell them what I'm thinking because that's what you're hired to provide. They want to hear what you're thinking. They don't just want to hear the fluff. So here's my framework for my template. I have an intro. I have a summarization of the feedback on the showings for the last week. I have weekly updates on the active and sold comparables, and I send the listings. I point out things I'm watching for in the future, like I mentioned earlier in my client updates for the week. I do the same thing in seller reports. And then I conclude with my thoughts and recommended next steps. The efficiencies I've built to make this only take me 1 hour per week. I built a working template in Google Docs, like I said. I update the upcoming changes, the things that are coming in the market that I'm watching for. I update that in the template and I copy and paste it to all my sellers. I update the intro each week so it looks fresh, it's new, and everything's completely different from the week prior. So again, it doesn't look like a template. And then I copy and paste that framework into each email I'm sending to each of my sellers to save me time. I then go in and customize it and make it their email. But using that framework system, it allows me to save a lot of time. And again, currently I think I've got six on the market or so. I spent 1 hour this week updating all of my sellers with quality touches. That's it. Here's my example of my working document. I took this example before I sent them this week. So this is exactly what I do. The X's for me signify where I'm replacing information. So this is my subject line. I would replace this with the property. I would replace this with their name, obviously. This is the stats on the past week. I would update the new listings and new sales against the property, and then update the things to pay attention to. That's it. Easy peasy. This is an example of what a completed one looks like on a property I recently sold. So you copy and paste that framework I just showed you into an email. You then update it with the statistics on the listing. So in this case, they saw 2,351 views, 48 shares, 41 favorites, and it was up significantly from the week prior of 1,100 views. And I added my thoughts saying this is very healthy. As for recent showings, I summarized the feedback. They're getting feedback after each showing whenever a feedback form comes in, or whenever an agent reaches out with questions, or whenever I reach out to them and get feedback. I'm alerting my clients instantaneously, but I'm summarizing it in the weekly touch to let them know if we're working in a positive direction or if feedback's overall negative. That's about it for seller reports. Just do it. It's easy and your people will enjoy it. Chat GPT, I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I find a lot of people, they make it sound a lot bigger than it is and make you feel that you're going to have to invest a lot of your time. I am not going to lie, I do not know much about Chat GPT, but I know that I use it and it saves me time. So for me, I know that I write too big of paragraphs. When I'm trying to explain a topic, sometimes I can write too much. So ChatGPT saves me a lot of time. Instead of going in and condensing that email or sending a long-winded email, I quickly throw it in and say, can you shorten this down? Can you condense this? It's a good way to bounce your ideas off someone or bounce things like that off of artificial intelligence, and it'll help you save time. This has saved me exponential time. Every single day I am using this system, even for something as simple as creating the email idea, like an idea of what you're sending to your clients or what you're posting on Instagram today, for shortening emails, for a social media post, any of that stuff, or even the fun thing to touch on here, my seller reports I do, that template that I had, that came from ChatGPT. I put into ChatGPT and said, I am a realtor. I have sellers I'm updating each week, something like this. And I want to send them an email updating them on our progress in the past week. Can you send me an email template? That's essentially what I got. I'm not going to say it spits things back perfectly every time. It's good to save time and then you go back in and edit and tweak it to make it yours. The biggest thing I can say with this is just do it. Try it, play around with it, throw your information in, and it's great for stopping that creative block that we all get, and it saves you a lot of time editing, altering information, all that stuff. So for me, again, if you find something that you're doing more than once a week, it may be none of these systems I've touched on today. Maybe you're doing all of these, but if there's something you're doing more than once a week and it's taking your time, take a little bit of time, invest your energy, and figure out a way to make it more efficient or make sure you're getting that best ROI on your time. You need to respect your time because if you don't respect your time, nobody else will. No one cares about your time more than you do. And I mean, that's kind of the gist from me. We should have a little bit of time for questions here, but hopefully this inspires you to find some efficiencies in your business. Copy mine. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. If these work for you, great. If not, win back your time and find a way to save yourself some time next week. That's it from me. A lot of
Wow.
information overload, but here we are.
This was so amazing and enlightening, actually. So, folks, questions. Now that we have Jake right here, this is a great opportunity to ask something. If you want clarification on anything, we do have this recorded because
Yes.
it was so much information. And I'm sure some of you will want to rewatch this and just take it all in into your beautiful brains. And then this way you can, go and create your own systems. I think there was definitely a lot of appreciation for this, Jake.
Yeah. And
So we're
copy
very
mine.
grateful.
Again, don't reinvent the wheel. If these work for you, great. If not, find your own efficiencies. But these are the efficiencies that I use every single week. I used all of the topics I shared today this past week. I'm going to use them again next week. This is how I do what I do. This is everything. This is what I do. So
Love
that's
that.
it.
Mary, you have your hand up. Go ahead. You can unmute.
Yeah, thanks. Jake, do you not send your sellers the Treb sellers report? Or is
I mean,
this
the
in
Monday report that goes out on Monday
the Treb?
reports.
Yeah, all the stats
Track
from
reports automatically go out on Mondays. I do this in addition on Wednesdays.
Oh, I see. Okay, thanks for that.
So actually, good point, Mary. Let me just get back to my seller reports here. These numbers I'm talking about, these numbers I'm referencing, your listing has seen X amount of views and talking about how they're up significantly week over week. That is referencing the Monday morning list track report that automatically goes out to my sellers. In addition to that, on Wednesdays, I've set the expectation up front with my sellers that every week they're getting this email from me. And then we're always touching base too. I don't leave it at 2 emails a week. We're having phone calls, we're texting, we're going in depth on information. But at a bare minimum, even when I'm on vacation, no matter what, they're getting their Monday automatic report from ListTrack, and they're getting a breakdown from me, as well as sending over the comparable listings, sending over recent solds, just going deep and providing my expertise to them every single week.
If I can just make a quick mention about the list track. So
Yes.
that's something that on the team we've set up for agents with listings. So if you are not, you can go into Treb and you can set that up. So it goes out automatically each week.
It's incredible. It's such a good tool through ListTrack. What it does every week, for those of you that might not have seen one before, it talks about exactly what I'm referencing here. It breaks down their views, their shares, their favorites, and all of the information you see on realtor.ca on the back end, and sends them an automatic report each week. I then, in addition to that, do an email referencing it here. However, if you're not an agent that's currently utilizing ListTrack, you could simply grab the information and do your own weekly touches like this, or you can do what I do and do both.
So good. Jake, Anne was asking in the chat, if you use ChatGPT for the weekly updates, for what to pay attention to?
So I don't use them for the weekly updates. Good question. What I was referencing is that everything I do, if I'm trying to do something, I'll throw it in there first to see if I can do it quicker. So what I accomplished through ChatGPT is I got a template similar to this. I got a layout that showed me the intro, the online engagement, the comparable properties, and the next steps, the things to pay attention to. And then from there, I just consistently edit it each week. You can use it to stop that creative block. So if you don't have things to pay attention to right now, like if you don't have something you should be alerting about to your clients this week, throw it in there. Say, I'm a realtor, I'm updating my sellers. What should I be updating them on this week? I use it this way. Years ago, when I had an office in a real estate building, I could go to my next door neighbor and say, hey, what do you think about this? And bounce ideas off somebody. We can still do that today, but instead of picking up the phone and calling somebody, I'll throw it into ChatGPT first, because I don't have to worry about getting someone on the phone. I don't have to spend time investing, explaining to them what I'm trying to do. I can bounce it back and forth off ChatGPT and speed up that process of failure. So just bounce whatever you can off of it is my best tip.
That's awesome. Anna, go ahead.
I just had a question. Maybe it's not about this, but Angelique mentioned, where can I find and register that list track? Where is that?
We all have them on the team. So the way that I find the information, any of my listings, I'll just go into Follow Up Boss, and in Follow Up Boss, I can see it was sent out on Monday, or you're also CC'd in the email on Monday. It's Monday evenings, I believe, that it goes out.
Where can I find it? Where is that? I don't have
I
it.
just open the email.
So and it's also on Treb. So if you go on to Treb, there's actually a list track tab somewhere. I can't remember, it's on that first page. And if you click on it, it will take you into, and you have listings, and I think you can select it from there.
We can help you find it though, Anna. Not a problem. I'll show you where it is.
So good.
Yeah,
And
thank
then
you.
any other questions? So good.
Woohoo.
Amazing. Jake, this
Perfect.
was really, really great. Thank you so much for deep diving a little bit into this for us this morning and sharing your systems. There's definitely a lot of value in that. Does anyone else who has systems in place have any tips that Jake didn't mention that maybe really work for you? Heather, I saw that you put in the chat that you are all about systems as well and you love your templates. Do you have anything else that Jake didn't touch on that maybe you do? That's a really great thing to share with everyone. I don't know if she can hear us.
Hard question. I like it.
Right?
I think just jumping in if she can't answer, for me, just try it. Like if you identify something that you're doing multiple times a week, take a little bit of extra time, reflect on it, and figure out how you can make it more efficient. Bounce it off a friend, bounce it off Chat GPT, figure out a way you can make it more efficient. Again, this is what works for me, might not work for you, but it's definitely working for me.
Yeah, and Heather just put in the chat, she's like, she's seconding what you said earlier, you know, sorting by year and client is super helpful. It keeps you hyper organized. And yeah, and then track your business expenses separately too. So basically, very similar to what Jake was saying. This is so great. It kind of reaffirms what you're doing as well, right? When other people do it too. It's so good.
And I can
Amazing.
tell you too, I don't know about you guys, but for me, nothing is worse than that little search bar at the top of Gmail. If there's a certain email I'm looking for, there is no way in hell I'm finding it through just searching certain keywords. You scroll for 30 minutes in a big inbox trying to find a certain email. So the way I do it, I know I can just go and click on 123 Main Street under my deals folder and find all those emails for 123 Main Street right then and there instead of searching that little stupid search bar that does not work. Saves me so much time. And again, it was maybe an hour and a half of invested time, let's say, just to set up all of those folders. And now all I do when an email comes in, you right click after you respond and you move it into its associated folder.
So good. Love that. Amazing. Well, we're a little bit past our time this morning, folks. So go and make great things happen for the next few days and every day. And we're so grateful you were all here today. Thank you so much, Jake. And then we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone.